All right, the last one is existentialism. A curriculum based on existentialist philosophy is best described as student-centered. So we're all about the students at this point. Existentialism contends that reality is nothing more than lived existence, and the final authority resides in each individual. Because it's student-centered, I, as the student, it would lie in me. There's nothing absolute, not even change. There is no ultimate principle or meaning. Existentialists believe that we live an alien, meaningless existence on a small planet in an unimportant galaxy in an indifferent universe. That sounds kind of scary. I feel like I'm more than that. Knowledge is about the human condition and the personal choices that each human makes. So once again, it falls back on me as the person. The key value for the existentialists is that human beings are free to make choices. They want individuals to have the right to decide what they're going to do. We define ourselves, that is, we make meaning in our world by the choices we make. So you maybe your parents said birds of a feather flock together. My dad used to tell me that. So even though maybe I was not, I didn't do the drugs, if I hung around with people who did, I would be. It would be assumed by my peers that I'm doing what they're doing. So that's kind of, you make your choices, and you know, I don't know. You'll have to make the choice for yourself. Is that how you feel? We define ourselves, that is, we make meaning in our world by the choices we make. Existentialists claim that when educators attempt to predict the behavior of students, they turn individuals into objects to be measured, qualified, and processed. So, if we're trying to help mold the behavior of a student, the existentialists would feel like we are not letting that child be an individual. We're making too many choices for him. We're dictating what he or she can do. Existentialists tend to feel that tracking, measurement, and standardization against the creation of opportunities for self-direction and personal choice. Tracking would be perhaps if I did all low ability group in my room. A lot of people look at that as tracking. You've got all of them, they need to be mingled in with other students. That, once again, is all your philosophy, because I think if I have all the students on a similar level, when I teach, I can teach to all of them, whereas if you've got high, medium, and low in the classroom, you're going to have to try to meet all of those learners within there. So, I don't know, I think teaching is more specialized if I can break it down and everybody in the room would understand without belittling those that are more advanced, if that makes sense. So that falls back to my philosophy, which would not be part of this philosophy. According to the existentialists, education ought to be a process developing a free, self-actualizing person. So one's individuality, that's what they're pushing. The highest educational goal is to search for oneself. What do I want to be? What do I want out of life? What do I want to become? What do I want to do? Individuality. Education helps to fill in the gaps with understanding the student needs in order to fulfill those purposes. So I first, as a teacher, wait for the individual to decide what they want to do, and then I am going to fill in the understanding, any missing knowledge needed of what the student actually wants to learn. It is not a mold to which the student must be fitted. Students define themselves by their choices, remember. So that's, you just can't make the students all fit into one mold. The existentialist teacher would help students become what they themselves want to become, not what outside forces such as society, other teachers, or even parents want them to become. I can see that to an extent. I've had a student in my class, in the Education 1030 class one time, who, when I went around the room, asked them what they wanted to be when they grow up. He said he wanted to be an artist, but he was going to school for an engineer, and I asked him why engineer, and he said because his parents would not pay for his education unless he did what they wanted him to do. All right, do you think that kid's going to make a good engineer? Probably not, because his heart's not there. He wants to be an artist. So I do understand that. But I also wonder, if I said to you all today, would you rather just us come together and shoot the breeze rather than have to do all these notes and listen to these lectures? I would imagine the majority of you would say, yeah, let's just, I don't feel like doing the lectures this week or the rest of the semester. Let's just get together and have little powwows and chit chats. My point in being, is a child mature enough to know what's going to be the best interest for them to be successful in the future? That I have concerns about. The roots of existentialism as a philosophy can be found in the thinkings of Sartre, Nietzsche, and Green. And if you do any investigating on those three people, you're going to find there's some shaky stuff that they've been a part of, as all, lots of stuff in the closet, lots of questionable things that they have done. Very interesting reads. If you want to read about those are three interesting. Any of the philosophers are interesting to follow, because a philosopher's way of thinking seems, especially if they're very one-centered philosophy, it's very unique and tends to be interesting reading. That's actually found on page 90 to 91, so if you want to grab your book and do a little bit more thorough reading on that, as I did with the other one, stop the video. What out of existentialists can you relate to? What would you agree with? What would you see using in your classroom? I'll be waiting.